funny enough that the conversation today we're going to talk about is self-evolving AI. And I did see your LinkedIn post where you were talking about how you asked AI to do your coding work, but you went to went to have coffee. And I was just curious on how much of your day-to-day task has AI taken up, like specifically in coding.
Well, not coffee matchup. But no, it is true. I do use a lot of AI generated development, specifically Claude Code. I do like Claude Code a lot. I think Claude Code and now the most recent Gemini CLI, I think those are kind of like the future where things are going versus IDEs with extensions. While Claude Code and Gemini still have like the cursor style model, my bets would be that the cursor style model of development phases out in the next 5 years, 10 years, whereas the Gemini CLI and the cursor Claude Code style model becomes more popular.
Okay.
Because you're not interacting with the code anymore. You're becoming more of a software architect, and where you're orchestrating multiple terminals at some point. Say, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And then it's a joke when I go make coffee. But yeah, technically, sometimes Claude Code does take 3-4 minutes.
Yeah.
I could see like 300 seconds, 400 seconds. I'm like, great, I'll just go make coffee, come back. And then most of the time, I'm sitting there. Actually, most of the time, I am spent correcting what Claude Code's done by telling Claude Code to fix it, or reviewing the pull request, or reviewing actually the GitHub CLI. The UI, I review that code and I say, no, this doesn't make sense. You did this wrong. So there's a whole bunch of strategies I've adopted that make that better versus just giving it one prompt and having it generate a whole bunch of garbage.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you said that because now we're pretty much going back to how we started coding. Everything started in the terminal and then we went into like fancy IDEs, like making our life easier. Now we're going back to the terminal. I think what I'm curious to know about is if this is where we're heading towards, what distinguishes the new self-adapting algorithms or AI models to the traditional ways of how models train or retune themselves?
Well, the traditional way, if you think about traditional AI, there is some sort of feedback loop, like a recurrent network where it's getting more information, it's self-correcting itself, but it's very guided guardrails. It's doing one thing only. Like if you look at a fraud detection algorithm, right? Yeah, it's learning based on new patterns it's seeing, but it's suddenly not going to go, okay, well, there's a new technique, completely new technique where people are like, I don't know, doing something new with credit cards to do fraud. I suddenly know how to do that. It still needs that supervised training data and whatever tweaks to its algorithm to be able to do it. When you're talking about this futuristic scenario, which I don't know how far it is, there's a good paper called AI 2027. AI 2027. It's a paper / really nice interactive diagram. That one, the AI does figure out how to fix itself. Okay, and fix itself to the extreme where it can make itself better. And it starts to head towards AGI and then eventually ASI, which is artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence. So at that point, yeah, it's coding itself and you're really not doing much or anything at all, which is a weird scenario.
Yeah.
Will we get there by 2027? I don't know.
Yeah. But there's a potential for it.
There are more qualified people than I am that some of them think we will and some of them think we won't. The reality is we need to think about what will happen, whether it happens tomorrow or 10 years from now, because I think you were saying it before this conversation, it will happen. And I do agree with that. It might take 50 years to happen, and we'd be way past our careers, and there'd be a whole new generation of engineers that are developing in a different way that are not going to be faced with everyone's coding. And no, the AI is coding everything. No one does coding anymore. No one does engineering anymore because we now have forget AGI, which is human equivalent. We now have an ASI that can do everything fast, vast, like the comprehension skills are vastly greater than any human could ever think of. Right? It's cloned itself like a billion times.
Yeah.